So, good morning, everyone. Here we are with the first poem of your book, My Mother at 66. It is written by Kamala Das. The poem My Mother at 66 discusses about the dilemma the daughter faces when she is leaving her parents' house. Let us begin with the poet first, Kamala Suraya or Suraya. She was formerly known as Kamala Das also. She had a pen name as Madhavi Kutti. She was a major Indian English poet, a poet, an Indian poet who has been writing in English and at the same time a leading Malayalam author from Kerala also. She used to write in Malayalam also. Her popularity in Kerala is based chiefly on her short stories and autobiography. While her oeuvre in English, actually she has written in English under the name of Kamala Das. She has written several fearsome poems and explicit autobiography, marvelous pieces of writing. Her open and honest treatment of female sexuality, free from any sense of guilt, infused her writing with power, but also marked her as an iconoclast in her generation. Actually, she has been a marker of her own generation. She has been considered as an icon for her own generation. And she has talked very strictly, very rigidly about female sexuality without having any sense of guilt. She was a feminist poet, and yet she has portrayed her beautiful write-ups and given us marvelous pieces of writing. On 31st May 2009, when she was aged 75, she died at a hospital in Pune. But despite that, she has earned considerable respect in recent years. She has earned a lot of respect in her past years. Now, let us read the poem. You can find that poem is written in a single line, but incomplete. It is not a complete line in it also. What the poem tells: driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, doze, open mouthed, her face as unlike that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but so put that thought away, and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spelling out of their homes. But after the airport security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, when, pale as a late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, see you soon, Amma. And all I did was smile and smile and smile. So, the poem tells us about the poet's departure from her parents' house, from her mother's house to Cochin, where she is leaving her mother, and the conditions of her mother is described very beautifully in the given lines. So this is a very touching poem written by Indian poet Kamala Das. Actually, she used to write under the pen name of Madhavi Kutti. In this poem, she is describing about her feeling of love and attachment towards her aging mother. She is describing what does she feel when she is departing from her parents' house. Once, what the poet suggests, once a poet went to visit her mother. So when she was returning from her mother's house, from her parents' house, she returned back to the airport. She was on her way back to the airport to return to Cochin. She looked at her mother, who was sitting just beside her in the car. Her mother had dozed off to sleep, and her face was also aging. It was smoky in color like ash. Her mouth was open, and she resembled like a dead body. The poet also realized that her mother was old. She was feeling pain and sympathy for her. She was knowing that her mother needed love, affection, and care. So, in order to come out of the gloom, in order to come out from that sadness, that worry, the poet now shifted her glance and looked out of the car's window, where she saw young trees pass by. The young trees sprinting, merry children spilling out of the house. Little children were running out of their house into the playgrounds. They were moving in order to play. So these things were contrary to the aging face of her mother. As her mother was losing her beauty, the faces of children, the faces of young trees symbolized energy, life, and happiness back again. As they reached the airport and the poet was about to leave for the aeroplane, she glanced a final look at her mother. It was one more time. She found that her mother appeared weak and pale, just like the moon in the winter season. When in the winter season, moon becomes pale, yellow, which seemed to have lost all its strength. The poet is now feeling the pain and fear of losing her mother. She was reminded of her childhood when she used to fear. She was fearing that she is going to lose her mother once again, as she felt when she was a child. As a child, she could not bear to be separated from her mother, even for a few moments. It happens with every child, that they do not wish to go away from her parents. Now the loss would be permanent. As she finds that her mother is about to die, and then she would lose her forever. The poet did not express her feelings. She was smiling, and then said, "See you soon, Amma," because she wanted that her mother should leave and they could meet again. So let us read the poem first. The poet says that while she was driving from her parents' home to Cochin last Friday, it was the Friday morning, and she was returning back to Cochin, the poet saw her mother sitting beside her. She was dozed, means in a half asleep, having her mouth open, and her face was essentially like that of a corpse, means her face had turned with no emotions on it. She was very old. But suddenly the poet left that thought and tried to look at the young trees, so that a change of mood should come into her mind. The merry children coming out of their homes in order to play. But when she reached the airport, and after the security check over there, she was standing somewhat at a distance from her mother. She was looking at her. She finds her very pale, very weak, fragile, and that's why she says as a late winter's morning. And now she says that she felt that old familiar ache in her, which she generally used to feel when she was a child, when her mother was separated from her. She was fearing the same pain at that time. But nevertheless, she said only one thing: "See you soon, Amma," because she did not want to get separated from her. And what she did all that was smiling and smiling and smiling at her. So when the poet is on her way to the Cochin airport with her old mother sitting beside her, she looks at her closely, and that gives us her image. She compares her mother with a corpse. Over here it is a figure of speech used, which shows the comparison between her mother's face and a corpse also. When she looks at mother's pale and pallid face, yellowish face, she is full of horror. She is full of pain of losing her mother. The mother, who is having a dozing face and having an open mouth, she compares her to a corpse. Here the poet shows that love and affection, which is generally present in a mother-daughter relation. The poet is pained now. She is feeling a lot of pain, and that's why, in order to shift her attention outside the she looks outside the car in order to drive out those negative feelings from there. And then she changes her sadness. The scene outside the window, it is full of life and energy. The trees passing by, children playing somewhere, they symbolize life, youth, and vitality. Something young, something dynamic. So the poet here thinks about her own childhood and her mother, who had been young at that time. Now she is encircled that she is going to lose her mother, and now she is feeling insecure towards her. She is at the airport to take a flight, so that tells us about the departure and separation, which is capable of creating a melancholy, a sadness. As she bids goodbye to her mother, the image of that old, van, worn out mother in the twilight of years strikes her again. She thinks about her life again. Here again, a simile is used to compare her mother with a late winter's moon, like a late winter's moon. Its light is obstacled, its light is stopped by fog and mist. As she looks old now, her personality is also affected by. The poet over here is feeling the pain of separation, leaving her mother and going. So it was just like the childhood fear of losing her mother when she failed earlier. Earlier it was temporary, but now it could be permanent, as her mother is at that age bar where she could die. And that pain, that feeling, that fear is haunting her. She is full of pain that she thinks that it is natural for her to cry, but she takes a brave front, she takes a brave side and hides her tear and just smiles. She even bid farewell to her mother and said, "See you soon, Amma." Actually, she is trying to hide her sorrow because she does not want to create a painful environment at that place, even for her mother, and also conveys her that she is enjoying her life similarly, and her mother should also be happy and should also enjoy her life. So it is a short poem without a full stop. The poem is like a long sentence overflowing through pauses. The poet uses a device of comparison and contrast, simile and repetition. So the poem revolves around the theme of advancing age and the fear that adheres to its loss and separation. It is a sentimental account of the mother's approaching end through the eyes of the daughter. So the seemingly short poem touches upon the theme of the filial bond, means the bond between the mother and daughter. You can think about the nostalgic situation, fear of losing. Nostalgia of the past means the time which she had spent with her mother, and fear of the future without her. This poem is full of such accounts, and that's why it is one of the masterpieces of Kamala. Rhetoric used in the poem. There are several figure of speeches used in the poem. At first, the imagery. The poet creates an image. The imagery is able to suggest us both death as well as youth. Young trees, merry children are a contrast to the mother. You can easily consider young trees are full of energy, merry children full of energy, whereas mother is approaching death. Young trees and merry children represent youthful hopes, whereas mother in the poem represents an ascent corpse. Simile, as we all know, simile is that figure of speech when a direct comparison is made. So in the given sentence, we find face ascent like a corpse. Personification is also there, like young trees sprinting. Trees are sprinting. The trees are given attributes of humans like they are moving. Repetition you can find in the line smile and in the words smile and smile and smile. Metaphor is also used, children spilling. Children are running out of their houses, that is displayed over here. Now exercise is there. You have to do this exercise after reading the passage. You can pause the video, look at the questions, and then you have to solve the exercises. So that is an extract based question. The first question number A is extract based question, whereas question B is question. You have to write in 30 to 40 words answer. That's all for today. This is the second chapter. If you are having any confusion, if you are having any trouble, feel free to ask to me on my WhatsApp number, on my contact number. Don't forget to subscribe the channel. Please subscribe for the further updates.